Well, hey, friend. How you doing today?
Hello, Rob.
Good to see you.
Great to see you as well. We somehow very close in color, somehow.
I like it when a plan comes together.
Yeah.
Just saying. I do have to ask, though, where is your beard?
My beard?
Yeah,
Beard
where's your
or
beard?
my beer?
No, well, you should have a beard, especially if you have a beard. But I'm just, we got the colors. Where is your facial hair?
Oh, where's my beard? I shaved it.
I really hope we didn't lose the audience for Claire already. We need to do her justice for the intro.
Yeah, let's find better questions from now on.
Okay. You're right. Better questions. I need to work on that.
That's good. So how was your week?
Look, it's a week. You will not be surprised to hear that we are back in virtual school again.
Oh, again.
So we are. I think it's like the fourth or fifth time. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But we're back in virtual school. We're making the best of it. And it's Wednesday, and I'm already ready for Saturday. How about yourself? What's happened since the last show? Anything awesome?
Yeah, I have a brand new keynote that I'm giving tomorrow.
Nice.
And I have two more, not new, on Friday. So it's been a busy week getting ready for all of that, getting more people empowered with diversity initiatives. So I'm excited about that.
That's been really growing in adoption, right? I mean, this is great. We're seeing a widespread movement for some DE&I, and you are one of the great facilitators of such.
Thank you. Well, the good news, I believe I'm the only one who does strategy and implementation in all of Louisiana. So
Nice.
It's good to be the only one for now. So
That's good.
Yeah, good. So let's bring our guest. We have amazing show coming up.
Okay.
Author, a friend, someone who's going to inspire us.
Yes. So this one's going to be great. Let me change some graphics here, and we are going to get Claire Vanderpolder on. Claire, how are you doing this evening?
Hi, guys.
Hello.
I am doing great. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Thanks.
I'm coming in a little fuzzy now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, it will be fixed.
Maybe we can all take a turn.
We're going to try.
Yeah.
Claire, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Down in South Florida, so it's nice and warm, and we're going to get a little cool front tomorrow. It's going to be in the 70s, so that's our sweet spot all winter long.
Claire, you said South Florida. Where in South Florida?
Boca Raton.
Really?
Just north of Fort Lauderdale a little bit.
I used to live in Coral Springs.
What?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
No joke.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you from here?
Everglades.
Are you from here? How'd that happen?
And look, I know I'm still coming a little fuzzy here. So I am not from Baton Rouge, or not from Louisiana, not from Florida. I'm from Nevada.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I bounced around, but I spent 2.5 years in Fort Lauderdale and loved it. I was either fishing or on the beach or riding my bike. That was it.
Yeah, I know.
This is great. I know you had friends in all the right places.
Oh, yeah. I know. But you guys don't have it too bad. Baton Rouge is nice.
Yes. The weather today has been okay. We didn't get all 4 seasons today. Dima, you've got it. I got to know. We always have some really interesting guests. How do you know Claire?
Okay, so when I was preparing for my TEDx at LSU, somebody local, she said, she found out that I was giving the talk, and she asked me, she said, one of my good friends helped Bill Gates with his TED Talk. Would you like me to connect you with him? So imagine if I said no. So she connected me with Barry, that I wrote about him in the book. And he's the only one where we didn't change his name because he wanted his real name. And Barry, over a week, met with me multiple times, helped me with the talk, shifted it all over. I was horrified before my talk, wanting to read it from a paper. And he's like, he didn't know me. And he was like almost yelling at me, don't read it. Don't read it. And I was crying. Anyway, after the talk, we became friends. We started talking once a month. Then we started talking every other week. And then we started talking once a week. He was helping me with every single speech, everything related to branding, reviewing everything. And Claire is Barry's wife.
Wow.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
It's a small world. And Dima and I started talking because she heard from Barry that I had written this book. And of course, she's written her book and been through the wars. And so she's been a great consultant to me. So everything came full circle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm so excited about all the work. So Claire, let's go about you. Tell us about your journey. Tell us about yourself.
So I am a nonfiction TV producer. I started my career at National Geographic Television in Washington, D.C. I lived there for a long time, was at Nat Geo for 12 years, did a lot of travel, went all over the world. Eventually moved over to just up the street in Maryland to the Discovery Health Channel right after that had launched. And so I was an executive producer there for 5 years. Really loved working at Discovery and being part of a new channel and a lot of the exciting programming and like amazing people, just, you know, wonderful colleagues and friends. But I am a Floridian and even DC weather is a little cold for me. So in that time, Barry and I met and got married, and he was fine. He grew up all over the world. So he was like, I can live anywhere. And so we moved back down here. So I've been working independently, have been, you know, with a bunch of different production companies and networks and done work for a variety of folks, including Oprah Winfrey's company, Harpo Studios. I've done a series for 5 years on investigation discovery called The Perfect Murder, which was lots and lots of murders and lots of very unhappy marriages, by the way. Yeah, it's actually shocking how many marriages there are, or how many murders there are between spouses. We got to a point where we're like, we need some spouses who are not killing each other. Can we mix this up a little bit, please? That's a whole other kind of subject.
Great.
You could write a whole book about that.
Oh yeah, crazy stories. But it was very fun storytelling and a great network. And you know, the true crime is just always fascinating and good stories of justice. You know, because they end up with solving the crime and some justice for the victim. So they're gratifying to work on in that way. And so this is my first book. I think, you know, I kind of did this detour because I had, you know, just very organically, my husband and I had been spending time with some friends and just were like, it's so great to be with friends. And, you know, we know people who seem to be happily married and they have fun together. And we're just like talking about it. And why is that? What makes that? And I think in my, you know, TV producer brain, you're always looking for a story, you're looking for a project. And the way this one came together for me, which was to talk to a lot of happily married couples about what they do day to day to keep their marriages, you know, in a way that makes them happy, it made a better book than a TV project. And so I've always loved to write. And I thought, well, let me try this. And that's how we got here.
That is so great. I love it. And I was going through the book. So Rob, show us the book.
Oh, I was going to show it on
Kindle.
I'm on it. I've got it on the Kindle. Let's show the people. Let's give the people what they really want, right, Claire?
Yes. So going through it, and it's a lot of amazing messages from different people that you interviewed. Some of them are newlywed, and others that have been married for a long time. I think you told me how many years combined? Is it like
1,000 years?
1,000 year combined.
Yeah. So I started to talk to couples. First, I started with friends, and then I sort of branched out to friends of friends, and then people they connected me to who they knew. And, you know, it was like, had interviewed a few dozen, and I thought, well, what's a good yield of material, you know, that would make a book? And yeah, I added up all their years of marriage experience, and it came to 1,000 years. So there's 1,000 years of wisdom of marriage experience in here. And interviewed people who were old and young, gay and straight, from all kinds of different religions, backgrounds, cultures, geographies. So it's a very diverse group. The couple that had been married the least amount of time was married for 4 years, and the ones that had been married the longest were 62 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a range, too. 4 to 62.
Yeah.
Did you see shared wisdom among the group?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's really how the book came together and is organized. It's organized by topics. There's chapters on fighting, on money, on public and private, on, you know, can you change your partner? Do you try to change the person you're with, or, you know, how much do you leave them alone? These themes all sort of emerged organically from the interviews. And then inside every chapter, there are topics different subheads on each topic. So, and I should say too, that I am not a marriage expert. You didn't hear anything in my resume about studying marriage or being a therapist or anything. So all I can tell you today is what I learned from the happy couples. And, but, you know, everything in the book is their wisdom, and it's in their words. And that's one of the things I like about it too, because I wrote the introductions to each chapter, but then as you go through and you're paging through there, you can see after you get into the next couple of pages that these little pieces here after the subhead, those are all pieces from the interviews that are just laid in there in the couple's own words. So it's a very sort of impressionistic, you sort of have to think about all these different voices that are telling their stories and confessions. And as you read it, they're thematically linked, but it's a variety of different voices.
Well, that's got to keep the reader entertained. It's got to, you know, they're broken up into something that's easily digestible too. That's got to help. And quick reading, something you can, I mean, this is really nice how this is laid out. I wonder if we can learn more about the author today.
Jump to the back.
Ways to connect. And there's the back of the book. Now you both have hard copies. I went, you know, what am I there? Millennial profile in my electronic version, Kindle version.
Probably,
Dima,
yeah.
I would love to get it signed, Claire. I need to get the actual one still and get it signed. But this is amazing. Your book is on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's on Kobo. It's on Walmart.com.
What I love about the design, you see the birds with the nest, they look like a happy face. So it's like an emoji with the happy face, and I love that. The nest is like the happy face, and the birds are like the.
Oh, I see it. Okay, I
had that same reaction, Dima, too, when I saw it, like from a distance.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of is like, oh, you know, but not overly, not big, not silly, just kind of a little hint at it, which was very nice. Yeah, the artist who did this book is named Michael Reeder. He's a book designer up in Toronto. And lovely guy, great portfolio, has done tons and tons of books. And so he was wonderful to work with.
This is really great. Oh, look, okay.
So Claire.
Shopping. Are you shopping? You shopping, Rob?
No, I'm not shopping. I was reading about, I mean, you've got the different values and then the breakout stuff right here. And then also the publication date. You just released this recently.
I did on Monday, March 1st.
On Monday.
Yeah.
I got the pre-order. I can say I got the pre-order. I got my book. I just need to put some time into reading it. I cannot wait to get a signed copy, Claire.
I'll make a note of it.
I'm on it. I'm buying one so you can sign it and ship it to me if possible.
We'll figure it out.
We'll work that out. But I got to get this done. I got to get that done.
Okay. It would be my honor.
Now, Claire, you also have a website. Do you want to? Can we bring that up too?
Yes, sure. So my author's website is just my name, Claire Vande Polder. That's a long Dutch name for anybody who doesn't know it. It's not hyphenated. It means of the polder or from the polder. And a polder is a piece of land reclaimed from the sea.
Wow.
And that is actually an English word. It's in the English dictionary. So you just think of from the polder, and that's how you can maybe remember the name. It's true.
I like that. Look, there's my version right there on the tablet.
Boom.
On Amazon, Books and Barnes
nice.
and Noble, IndieBound, and Rakuten.
And IndieBound will help you figure out if it's at a bookstore near you. Right now, in early days, it's probably not physically in very many stores, but once it gets some traction, we hope it'll be in a store near you.
Amazing. This is awesome.
So cool.
Yeah, so I have it's a very simple website. I have a blog, which I've only done 2 of now. And there's also one of the things I would love to do is connect with book clubs. And so there's a whole list of free book club questions there that cover the entire book. That's a free giveaway if you visit the website. And you can also, the world is on Zoom now. So I would love to visit with book clubs anywhere that are interested in reading the book. That would be super fun for me. So if you have a book club, please check out the website, get in touch there, and go get your free questions as well.
I like your website and the colors. I love the colors.
Thank you.
Yeah. They match somehow with our branding.
Yeah, I don't know.
It does actually. That's interesting.
Yeah, I love orange. Like even my women group, Leadership and Lattes, is orange, and that's my favorite. There's something about orange.
Yeah, that's really cool. The web designer who did this for me is named Andrew Hoagie. He lives in Seattle. He's also wonderful if anybody's interested. But yeah, it really we were lucky because we weren't starting from nothing. We really had the book to work with, and then determined our colors from here. We're able to use the artwork because there's little birds on the back, there's little birds on the spine. And, so we had little things to work with that put the website together. So that was a nice starting place.
I love the birds on the spine. So when you and I were talking, one of the chapters that you said you like the most is about giving gifts.
Yes.
So tell us about that. Why is that your favorite chapter, and what did you learn from it?
Well, one of the reasons I like it is because it's super practical, and the world certainly has room for just pure inspiration and philosophy and therapies and psychology and things. But it's like, again, my obsession was really about what do happy people do, and what can we learn from that? What do they do that they have in common? And in the midst of their daily busy lives, where you're teaching kids at home, this was pre-pandemic, but you guys are busy, especially parents with young kids. And so you're not, sometimes you kind of go on autopilot a little bit just as a survival mode. And so I like the gift giving chapter because one of the things the book really has is a lot of fun examples and really cringy epic fails of people who tried and did not hit the mark. And so there's some really good ones in this chapter. Like one of my favorites is of a guy who always had, he was probably in their 40s at the time, had always had in his mind that he wanted, if he was going to wear a watch, it needed to be like a nice watch, not like a crazy, collector's piece, but just a really better than average nice watch. And so his wife knew this very well. His birthday rolled around. They went out to dinner, and she puts this box on the table, and says, "Happy birthday." And he opens it up, and it's like a nothing average, just not the watch. And so he's like, okay, thanks, but no, I don't think this is the watch. And so she's like, okay, it was fine. The next year rolled around. He's watchless again. And they're at dinner. She gives him the box, and there's another watch inside, and it's the same watch.
From
It
love.
wasn't the exact same watch, but she went and bought the same watch again to give to him. And he was like, yeah, it's still no, you know. And so after, and she was kind of like, she had forgotten. And she was sort of like, well, I thought maybe you just weren't ready. You didn't really want the watch. And he's like, no, I don't like the watch. And then finally, the following year, he had cut out some pictures. He had left some very good clues around. And so he said that he finally got the watch of his dreams, and it only took 3 years.
Wow, that's so cool. You should have just went and bought it.
After that third year, you should have told her to watch out.
There you go.
It's a good one. You should use that, Claire.
But there's so many stories like that. For some people, gifts aren't that big a deal. They're not people who respond to actual presents and so on. But for other people, they like those gestures and those symbols of love. And it's just hard. It's hard to do without a clue. And so there's different pieces of advice in there. One of the pieces of advice in that chapter is, if you know what your spouse wants and you can afford to get it, just get that thing. There's nothing unromantic about getting them that thing, because it's about them. It's not about you. It's not about what you want for your partner. It's about what they want. And so that's very touching. There's an older couple in there who the husband years ago gave his wife for Christmas one year. He said he felt it was a cop-out. He gave her a certificate to buy anything she wanted at any time during the year for an item.
Wow.
And she loved it so much. She's like, that's what I want for Christmas every year. And so he's like, he won. But she loved it. So, there's all kinds of, there's stories of bad jewelry. There's stories of good jewelry. There's a wonderful, touching story of a couple who the wife had a birthday right around Christmas. And so in her whole life, she had basically, very low expectations for any kind of birthday celebration, because it always got swallowed up by Christmas. And so one year, kind of unbeknownst to her, her husband sold a vintage car that he owned. He went and bought a piano, and he put together a giant, 50 people in their house, big surprise birthday party. And she came home and saw the car is gone, the piano's there, all these people are here, and it's just for my birthday, and just burst into tears, And so for me, I love hearing those stories too, because it's fun to melt someone's heart. And if you can do that for your spouse, your partner, and really, give them a surprise that's gives them a story to tell for the rest of their life, how amazing, their spouse or husband made them feel, that's a win. So that's the kind of inspiration I like, which is okay, that gives me an idea, maybe we can do something like that.
Yeah. Wow.
So I have a funny one to share. Maybe you can add to the book when you revise it.
The second edition? Okay.
The second edition, Mike could use this one. Look, a buddy of mine. So my wife and his wife are friends from high school. That's how I know them. And we decided we were going to take it. I guess what I would envision to be the optimal gift for a spouse. A trip somewhere that you didn't know you're going to take a trip. You don't pack because you buy all your stuff there, and it's just going to be fabulous. Except it was an absolute nightmare.
Oh no!
Because it wasn't. The surprise was immediately overwritten with, well, where are we going? Well, I'm not packed for that. Well, I need to get. I'm not prepared. How could you do this to me? What? We're going to Key West.
Oh,
let's go have some fun. And it turned out to be a great experience with a lot. And that's really what you want, right? We have stories for days. We could share this like right now.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. We still joke about it to this day and have all of those funny inside jokes to share. Mm-hmm. And it brings us right back. So, it was a complete fail. We thought it'd be perfect. And
Right.
we still got to go travel. And then on the way back, our friend got sick, and he's a doctor. He got sick. Tyson.
Oh, no.
This is Tyson, Dima. Tyson. Tyson Green.
Oh, no.
They were guests on the show earlier. So a couple shows back. So just so funny. Now, Claire, you're hearing all this. Is there a part that's like entertainment value as well as, okay, I'm learning from this?
Oh, yeah.
What is it? Why this sounds like a really interesting project. I got to be honest. Why though? Why?
Why the project overall?
Yeah. Why write the book? Why decide to interview all these people who have been married from 4 to 62 years?
Right. I think, it's funny when I started to hear people talk about their relationships, it just flipped a switch for me, as a person who is married, who tries to, you look at your own relationship and how you're doing. You are always going like this. Some days are better than others. It's not all perfect, but I thought there was something that was really valuable there to hearing people, because every one of these people, all happy couples, one of the first things everybody wanted to lead with is, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. And I think that there is a little bit of, we would love for it to be romantic. We'd love for it to be like it was when we were dating. We'd love, all the excitement and the fun and the new discoveries and things that were so exciting early on, but that's not real. So what does it look like? And there's some kind of bad advice out there. Like, as I write in the introduction of the book, it's like, they say, well, marriage takes a lot of work. Well, what does that mean? Is it emptying the dishwasher? Is it you don't get to go anywhere you really want to go because you're with somebody? Is it, you're bothered by sharing a home? You have to get rid of each other's annoying habits. I mean, what does that mean? There's another one, a piece of advice that basically says, put your partner first. Or that it's not 50-50, it's 100-100. And, to me, it's like, that's not a thing. I'm not an expert, but I can't give 100% to that because I have some basic maintenance I got to take care of, So there's that kind of stuff that's floating around about it. And I was like, I think it's fun. Like, I've read marriage books, right? You read the typical ones, and they have their advice and kind of their study and everything. And then they'd say, and here's the case study of like Jack and Amy, not their real name. And then they like tell you a little story about what Jack and Amy are struggling with. And like for me, when I was reading those books, I was like, oh, jump to the stories.
Yeah.
I want to hear about the real people and the real stuff and the real, circumstances. So that was why I was like, well, make the whole book that, and maybe that's instructive because I think we all have wisdom. If you've lived through something, and believe me, this is not anti-therapy or, I have nothing but respect for counselors and therapists and it's in the book that several of the couples have gone to therapy and it was a, very positive experience. But I also think, we've all had a great grandmother or grandfather with amazing wisdom. When you live through things, you start to learn some things. And so that was really the kind of everyday wisdom that I think we can share with each other, starting with this book and kind of continuing the conversation because I think everybody has some wisdom to share.
Yeah. What I loved as I was reading, I'm still reading it. So as I'm reading Making Marriage Happy, I realized that it's not just for married couples. It works for people that are engaged, that are dating, the ones that are divorced and are wounded and want to be in a better relationship in the future. Yeah. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I think, it's funny because I look at this as not being a book for marriages in trouble. I think that it's really, if you are somebody who's accomplished at something, say you're a professional, you go to continuing professional education. You're always trying to learn. If you get fit, you don't stop going to the gym. So if you have a happy marriage, you're kind of constantly working on it. And I see that as a tool for, if you're married and happy, or you really have a bunch of stuff to work on, I think there's concrete things in here that you could actually try, the way that people think about things and decide that, the way they're going to treat each other, for example, when they're arguing. There's lines they don't cross. There's certain things they won't say. They know those things are going to be permanent, and they've decided between each other, we don't say those things. Those might inspire people. I hope that my hope is that it'll inspire people to reflect on, well, what are we doing in our relationship that could use a tweak, or could use a little more fun, could do some of these things like, throw a surprise party or give a really fun gift or do something a little unexpected.
Like going to Key West?
Well, only the way they do it in the book. But
I might have chosen the wrong airline. I don't know, Claire.
Oh, it's a hard one. I've had bad surprises, and that's one of what I wrote in the introduction to the chapter is that when you get a bad surprise and a bad gift, that makes everybody feel terrible. Terrible. The person who gives it is like, well, that is the opposite of what I wanted to happen. The person who's on the receiving end was like, I hate that I'm causing you pain. You put all this together, but I don't want it. It's not making me feel good. It's having the opposite effect, and everyone feels horrible, And so that's why I sort of thought that gifts deserved a moment to be talked about. And it's not easy for everybody, and because they come around all the time. It's not once a year. There's birthdays, there's anniversaries, there's special days, there's Christmas and Hanukkah. It's a whole cycle that it never stops.
Claire, you're married. Was there a part of the book that either helped you or resonated with you in your relationship?
I was quite touched by a couple of things. One is there's a chapter on public and private and how people behave. Some people, they like to be the life of the party, and they'll tell stories about their, some dumb thing their spouse did. Or when I was talking with these folks, most of them were like, look, I maintain confidentiality in my work life, and my private home life with the person I love most in the world is entitled to at least that degree of confidentiality. That you need a safe space. You never feel like your spouse is going to be the one who's responsible for embarrassing you or making you feel unsafe. And so just hearing them like that's people who had thought about this, who'd really thought, my spouse has feelings. I don't want to do that to them. And so I'm not going to tell some story at a party that I know would get a laugh, but I'm not going to do that at their expense because, they mean more to me than the laughter of my friends. And so that I thought was something that I reflected on a lot. And not that we were doing it wrong, but there's something also that is very reassuring about other people struggle with this too. You always kind of want to know, are we normal? Do other people fight about the dishwasher? It's so stupid. I feel petty. But it's like, no, it's just, that's what happens when you live with somebody. There's just dumb stories in there about one guy's wife, they have recycling under the sink and she will not take that recycling out. And she packs stuff in and she packs stuff in, and when it's overflowing, she keeps packing stuff in. And he's like, take it out. I can't even empty it when she's around because it's so overflowing, but she will not take that thing out. And it's like, are these things important? No, we know they're not important. But it's like, it's your life at home. You want to have a peaceful, nice place to live at home. And so I think all those little niggling annoyances have a spot.
That's a funny story. So when somebody reads your book, what are 3 things you want them to leave with?
I think I think one of the chapters is called "The Big Ingredients: Time and Talk," and it sort of time and talk kind of boil down to, at least in my mind, after these interviews, what is the work of marriage? Because the more time you spend together, the more talking you do, like real talking, not sitting on the couch watching a movie and talking about what's happening in the movie, but like actual, let's get serious about it. Let's go out for a drink and just talk with the two of us, or go for a walk and talk. That creates compatibility, and these people like know each other so well. They talk about these things in their lives that they know each other so well that when something happens, they kind of can tell. They kind of can predict how the other person's gonna respond. Or kind of go, oh, I didn't think you would like that, or I bet you hated that. They kind of know that they know their partner so well. And so I think it creates this level of compatibility that, things come up, that you might have a tough medical situation that's going to stress you, or you might have a money situation that's going to cause a conflict, but deeply who you're dealing with, and that they're in it with you. And that to me is again what sort of that time and talk together can create. So that would be like sort of 1/2. And the other thing I would say is you would think that married couples would talk, or happily married couples, long married couples talk a lot about love, and we're all love makes the world go round, and it's the most important thing. And I'm not saying that it's not, but these couples talked a lot more about liking each other. And liking each other is important. Having fun together is the reason you got together in the first place. You like being together. There's a reason that you went out that first time and said, I'd like to do that again and again and again, and then make that permanent. And somehow, sometimes, when life happens, then all this other stuff gets piled on top, and the sort of fun that you used to have, the reason that you liked each other in the first place, gets buried under all this other stuff. And so that's a real powerful theme, I think, that comes through is, as partners, companions, teammates in life, that's like, if they like each other, then everything else, it just goes a lot smoother. You have to get back to that sometimes. Leave all your problems at home. Go out or go on vacation. Go on vacation is a really important one. Leave the kids at home if you have them, and just be together and try to, remember all that stuff that brought you together in the first place.
I like the time and talk element. You can't just deal with one. One's not going to do it, right? You kind of need both. And one of the chapter I'm probably very interested in also in reading is the money one. Money can place a huge stress. You can manage money different, like you manage the recycling, like you talked about. And it's a little bit higher stakes, right? I mean, you miss it on Monday, you get it on Thursday. You got 2 shots. But the money thing, you make a mistake there, a critical mistake between shared mutual finances, or an investment you thought would work, or a job that didn't pan out. I mean, that's some serious stuff. What was the gravity like in chapter 4, money?
I'm going to that chapter now.
Yeah. Well, there's some good examples there, Huh? There you are. Yeah, I mean, money, it basically that, starts off by saying managing money for 2 is more complicated than managing money for 1. Some of these things are just, they're sort of obvious, but you have to sort of take a step back and go, anytime you bring in a whole nother head to something you've been accustomed to managing for yourself your whole life, it's going to get more complicated. And you came from different homes. So, how we were brought up is, people acknowledge that it was like, some were brought up to spend it while you have it. Other people, are miserly. They're concerned about the planet. They don't want to spend. They don't want to use electricity. They don't want to build. And so how do these two get along? And it really takes some work. And some of it is accepting who your partner is. Plain and simple, and there's one guy who talks about, it's like, he's sort of a miser. His wife is very creative. She's always finding projects and stuff to do and bringing animals into the home. And he's just at a point where he's very good naturedly given up, because he's like, she's going to do what she's going to do, So he chooses to love that about her. And, the money gets spent, but she knows very well his, there is some yin and yang there. I think they both try to give each other some space and know that it's not something they feel similarly about. And so you can acknowledge that it's like, look, we're very different from each other in this regard. Mm-hmm. This couple in particular, the way they make it work is like, let it be. And you hope that it's, there's enough that they're not, fooling around with like their bedrock money, or nobody's, gambling the house away or anything. But, I'm talking about sort of extra, and, it's not getting saved to the degree that he would do it, but she's also not spending to the degree that she would without some control. So that's how they make it work. But yeah, you're right. The stakes are higher, and money really kind of represents an investment in your shared stakes, so the more what your value, what your goals are together, if you're approaching this as a team, I think that's what a lot of them said is, we know where we want to get together. And when we isolate that, when we understand that, then having the discipline to get there makes a lot more sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And then, I'm thinking too, with the money thing, the time and talk still applies to every one of these chapters. You're still, because these things can change. That gift that was good 5 years ago, or that trip to Key West, might have been better if it was to Gulf Shores. So those preferences change. I do this with my company. I try to gauge people's rewards and recognition preferences, or their profile for these sort of things. Why wouldn't you do that for your spouse? This kind of makes sense. I mean, I do have a quick question, Dima, and then I want you to ask some more, but I wanted to know what the most difficult chapter was to either compile or write for the book.
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The most difficult one. Oh, that's an interesting question.
Because I'm just thinking, the span or the scope of what you have tapped into is so large. Like I imagine money's kind of tough, but was there something that sticks out that was like a really difficult issue or a difficult part to write? Even though this is about happy things, was there a difficult part to compile a part of the book?
Yes, there is. Chapter 10 is called For Worse.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
There we go. Yeah.
Right. And so it acknowledges, that we have bad things. It acknowledges that when something bad happens to you as a couple, that you each might respond to it differently. That you can't necessarily help each other when something bad happens. And these people, I talked to people, they had, the death of a child. They had a child who had addiction problems. They had terrible medical conditions of their own, cancers and other things of their own. Deaths of people in their family and other things. Living through a hurricane. There's a wonderful, just a little story of a woman who'd lived through a hurricane here in South Florida, and they were without power for a couple of weeks. And if you've ever been without power for a couple of days, you know that it's bad. So a couple of weeks is just worse. And they were depressed. She had been depressed before and knew how to recognize it, but just was able to see that she and her husband, and they were at a stage where they were like, she really felt that their marriage was going to break up unless they had somebody intervene. And so she said to her husband, You have to go get some help. And he looks back at it now and says, I can't believe you threatened that you were going to break up with me. And she said, I wasn't threatening. She says, that's what was going to happen. And you couldn't see it. And so her takeaway was you sometimes your partner can't see it. And you have to sort of step back on behalf of the two of you as a family and go, you need to do this. This is something you can't see. This is a problem that I want to see if I can work with you to help you fix. And so, that's one of the reasons I think that they talked about when bad things break people up, because, some people, one couple who had lost their daughter, he wanted to punch walls and she wanted to go in a cocoon. Well, there's not a lot of middle ground there, but what one of the things that she said about it was the minute she let go of expecting him to be a certain way in his grief, the better things got. Because you have to be, you're just raw. There's nothing else that they could do except just be who they were. What they didn't need to add to that was some kind of disappointment that their husband or wife couldn't step up and give them even more in this time, which was, completely devastating. So that was a tough chapter, but the couples were so honest. I mean, these people were so honest. And I got to tell you, another surprise that came out of this was that there's plenty of men who like talking about their relationships. There's this stereotype out there that men don't like it. But I literally had guys say to me, because I did a lot of interviewing with them together, either in person or, on the phones. And they were like, I need my own interview. I have a lot to say. I need my own interview. I'm like, right, So it was like, bring it, But that's I was so touched by the fact that they wanted to share, a lot of people who had bad marriages the first time around and are happy now. We're just like, I got to let people know some of the stuff we do because it's so much better. It's so much better. And I want other people to know. And it's from whether they were talking about fun, stupid things or really difficult things, their generosity in sharing their stories to me was like very touching, that because they wanted other people to possibly get a little glimmer of something that would help them in their lives.
As you were talking, two things came to my mind. The first one is, in my situation, I grew up not seeing any healthy relationship around me. So it's not like there's a manual of how to enter in a healthy relationship and how to build a healthy relationship afterwards. So that's why I like reading books like this, especially your book, is so important, not just for people who are married, but individuals that are before getting married. But also I'm looking at the table of contents, and I keep thinking about the pandemic and all the pressures that individuals and relationships that are facing. So just like two becoming one, not just becoming one, they have to live and see each other all day long. And then the battle of wills. I didn't read that yet, but I can imagine like more fighting and so it would be interesting to hear the stories during the pandemic with even we were talking about depression, mental illness, things related to money, all of these, and how the pressure that we're currently living. So it is by far maybe the worst situation to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. People are writing books about it. Tough. It's really tough for a lot of people, and the people, especially at home, when you're home with your kids, and Rob, that's just, and your kids are little, they don't know, you can't tell them to just like grow up and suck it up. It's just like, that doesn't work when they're little like that. And so I know a lot of people are struggling now and just hoping this vaccine gets around and we can get back out of our houses, huh?
There you go. Get some of that Florida sunshine.
Yeah, that helps.
Yes. Oh man. So I got to ask, where you were interviewing folks, but did you Did you get to write any of this or compile any of this on the beach? Or maybe a better question. How about a better question? How long did this take to accomplish?
Well, most of it, probably the better part of a year. But I didn't quit my job or anything. And so I was working. And so honestly, I started this about 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I have not been writing for 10 years.
Okay.
But one of the things, and so I really did most of the interviews in a cluster, and then put it away for a couple of reasons, and did other work. But the weird thing about it is that it kept on rattling around in my head. You know what I mean? They were like, I had these little things, I could remember pieces of the interviews that would like come to me that was like, oh, that was a really good thing that guy said, or that was a funny story, you know, they told me, or hey, you know, other people decide they're not gonna fight this way, so maybe I'll let it go. Maybe I won't say this thing that's on my mind. Maybe I'll practice. Maybe I don't need to say everything that comes into my head, and let's see how that goes.
You're asking a lot.
You ask my husband, I know. But that, you know, I have started and abandoned more projects than I can even tell you about. But this one, like, had real stickiness in my brain, and so I went back to it last year and felt like I was just like all this stuff kind of came together that I was like, let's do this now, and you know, dove back into it, rewrote a lot of it, had some people read it, redid some parts of it, and then worked with an editor and just decided let's put it out there and see what happens.
Wow. So what's next? Is this book inspiring you to write other books?
Yes, I would love to do another book kind of in this format, just talking to people, because, you know, in a weird way, it's a little bit like a documentary format on paper, which is, you know, when you're writing, making a documentary or a nonfiction TV, you want to hear from the people who lived whatever it is you're talking about, right? You want them to tell their stories. And so what I'm used to doing is putting those scripts together and writing a little narration, and then letting the rest of it go. And so for me, this format feels very kind of organic and in my wheelhouse. And I'd like to do another one in this format, but I'm trying to figure out what the next topic is going to be.
Let's think, Rob. What do we think the next topic is? Let's help Claire.
Yeah, tell me.
What topic?
Oh, man.
What topic do you want, Rob?
Look, I think you could. I mean, there is plenty of content. You can have a kid spinoff. What this, you know, what's this like?
Yeah.
Very easily. But you know, Claire, this topic is universal. I mean, if you're interested in just working on relationships, that's what this is, right? I mean, I know it's about marriage, but if you can apply something from maybe that a filter you don't tell somebody, or I'm going to decide to let this person react that way, it's just going to happen. But then I'm also going to, you know, come back and we're going to have a discussion about it, that time and talk and stuff. There's a lot you can apply with just any relationship. Can you apply this to business? Have you applied this to business already yourself?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that I should have applied to business, not saying everything that comes into my head. You know?
That's a good.
So yeah, but the way that you were talking about, though, I think when you have employees and you have things around you change and you're constantly responding to that, it's. I think that was like one of the last takeaways from the book too, is that, you know, the marriage is never on autopilot. It's really not. It really takes daily time and attention. You have to constantly check in with each other, because not only is it the two of you, but this whole world around you that has, you know, is heaping pressures on top of you. And I think a lot of people, you know, certainly felt that more than ever last year. And it's going to continue for a while, but that prioritizing, kind of like, this has to be primary. We can't ever shortchange this, between us, especially if we have a family and other people who depend on us, because it's just, for these couples, again, going through life as a team is a great benefit. It's so much joy, and it's makes them so much more productive. They believe they can do things that they wouldn't have individually. They've run marathons. They've continued their education with the help of their partner. So they feel they're stronger and better together for sure.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. So for our viewers, make sure you go and you get Making Marriage Happy, and enter a comment on our Chit Chat page. Let us know.
Yay!
Let us know.
Thank you, guys.
What you think. And I can't wait to read it. Maybe Rob and we should finish reading it, and we'll bring Claire back. How about
that? Bring you on back. See if you learned anything more. Oh yeah,
that'd be great. That would be great. And then I want to hear your wisdom. I really want to hear. Yeah, and that's what I'm doing on my website. Is really the website's still sort of being built. It's functional. You can go there. Please sign up for the newsletter. But I think we all have wisdom to share with each other. I would love to hear your story. You're married with kids, Dima. You've got a deep, rich, interesting story. You have, and that's what you spend your time doing in your book is sharing your story and inspiring people. And so I think that everybody, a lot of people have a voice in this conversation, and the more the better.
Yeah, and I agree with what Rob said. It's universal. When you and I were talking the other day, I was mentioning this book was needed thousands of years ago, and it will be needed thousands of years from now. As long as the robots don't take over Earth, we're okay. You will keep selling books.
But then we'll write Making Robots Happy, and it will all be fine.
Don't leave out the zombie apocalypse. That could be a whole nother chapter or two.
That's true.
We have plenty of content, Claire. I think it's out there. And look, we didn't even scratch the surface on you. We talked about your book. We need to talk more about the whole Discovery Channel thing and your background and all of that. Just sounds so rich, fascinating. That's going to be our second edition of Chit Chat with Claire.
All right, I'm in. You guys.
We didn't even scratch the surface, and I want to know how that prepared you for this book. Like, I want to know more.
In one phrase, it prepared me to talk to anybody.
There you go. I mean,
I'll ask anybody anything. It doesn't always go great, but you can ask.
That's so funny. I want to be there and watch it when it doesn't go great.
Yeah. Well, those are the ones you don't write about.
Yeah.
There you go.
That was a fun time with you, Claire. Thanks for all the information. Thank you
guys.
The book. We so much enjoyed it, and thanks for the laughs. Thanks for the wisdom. I know both of us will need it a lot.
Thank you so much, you guys. I love that you had me on. I love your show. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you, Claire. Stay safe. Tell my former Floridian friends hello, and I miss me some Coral Springs. Shout out to
yeah,
and say hello.
Come down.
Look, I'll have some good reading material on the trip. So perfect.
Just don't go to Key West.
Amazing. I'll remember that. Thank you so much, Claire.
Okay.
This has been awesome.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
And there you have it. That's our show for tonight. Please suggest a guest for our next Chit Chat show. Our spots are filling up fast because we have some great guests. With the quality of Claire in mind, please tag or post someone for our show. Thank you for watching, everybody. Stay safe and take care.